that day was my son's 6th birthday. Wes, it was his job. I knew that sometimes he was late and he would always text me. And he hadn't texted me that day, so I knew that something was really wrong.
My phone's going and going and going, and I knew it was Katie. Where are you at? You're supposed to be home. I ended up eventually throwing my phone to my assistant and saying, hey, call her, tell her what's going on.
71842. We have an individual that's hyperventilating after exercising and unable to control their breath. 10-4.
It was a tragedy on a college football practice field that made national news.
Breaking out of the University of Maryland College Park, Jordan McNair has died.
No, I've done hard before in my life. That was the hardest.
It was 100% preventable, and that should not have happened.
I want somebody to blame. This is somebody's fault.
You have to fire the head athletic trainer.
A kid died on his watch.
I battled some really bad days.
You may know the story about the death of Jordan McNair. This is the story about what happened next.
Did you ever think you'd hear from Wes Robinson again?
Some journeys in life are steeper than others. Wes Robinson reached what he considered the peak of his profession in 2007, when he became head athletic trainer for a major college football program at the University of Maryland.
It was very gratifying. I mean, I love the job. I mean, it was, have the opportunity to work with the athletes of that caliber and to be able to help them and just be a little part of their success.
Working with these athletes, did you get to know them much?
Oh, absolutely. And you definitely develop the relationships with them, get to know them. Some of these kids, if they have an injury and you're in treatment with them and you're spending 3-4 hours a day with them, I've definitely had a good bond with a lot of the guys.
What do you remember about Jordan?
Jordan McNair grew up in Randallstown, Maryland, a suburb of Baltimore. A standout basketball player before switching to football, Jordan became a star offensive lineman, recruited by elite programs like Ohio State and Alabama, before ultimately choosing to stay closer to home at Maryland.
Everyone loved him. He's like one of those guys, it's kind of hard to man, if you don't like Jordan, something's wrong with you type of deal.
Big smile, big personality. I mean, incredible. Respectful kid, always in on time, just an amazing young man that, you wanted your kids to be around.
On a humid 80-degree May afternoon, Jordan returned from mid-semester break during his sophomore year for the first day of conditioning.
You can't say it started like any other day. It wasn't like any other day. It was the first day of summer workouts, and it was, known to be it was going to be an intense workout and kind of want to set the tone for the summer and be ready.
Jordan, he was acting kind of uneasy. He was a little nervous about the workout. It was 10 reps of a sprint workout, and around rep 8, he started failing out, and it just didn't seem right. Something seemed really off.
And I turn around and I see Jordan still on the ground back there. He's not doing great. Some 2 trainers are trying their best to pick him up. He's not standing. They're standing with him laying on them with a towel around their neck and water being tossed on him at all points in time.
I just remember him gasping for breath, and he was saying, "I can't breathe, man, I can't breathe."
Jordan was ultimately taken to the athletic training room, where trainers used cold towels to help with cramping. But they still failed to recognize Jordan's body temperature had reached dangerously high levels.
Yeah, at that time, I thought we were still dealing with kind of a low-level heat cramp situation. I didn't have an indication that this was, an emergent situation that needed to be, kicked up a notch to handle differently.
What got you to that place?
I went back to the back doctor's office, checked on him again, and talked with him and was trying to get him some fluids. That's when he collapsed and started to have a seizure.
Fire communications, Brenda.
Hey, how you doing? University of Maryland.
Hey.
We have an individual at 4068 Fieldhouse Drive that's hyperventilating after exercising and they're unable to control their breath.
Okay, are you guys there?
We're going now.
I was sitting in my mom's kitchen, and I remember I got a phone call saying, Mr. McNair, there's been an incident on the field. Jordan had a seizure, and at that time, like, I'm already up and out while he's saying this. I'm en route to my car.
It was an hour ride maybe, and it seemed like it was 3 hours. Because, you know, Jordan never been sick. 19 years, never been in the hospital, never been sick. And I'm like, well, why would he have a seizure? And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm thinking just why? Just why? And so we get there and we go in and I saw Jordan.
At the hospital, doctors discovered Jordan's body temperature had reached 106 degrees. Wes had ridden in the ambulance with Jordan.
He asked me if he could stay there, and I was like, yeah, you're fine. Because I tried to stay there, but it was so nerve-wracking.
It was just a lot of long hours staying at the hospital. I've tried to support the family as much as we could by being there.
And the whole night Wes stayed there, he would, text me and let me know, his night was okay, or, he's doing this, he's doing that. And he had a really, really genuine concern about Jordan.
We went from a healthy kid Tuesday morning to an emergency liver transplant Friday morning, with 85% of his liver being in necrosis.
What does that mean in layman's terms?
85% of his liver was dead. Dead.
Every machine that could keep you alive, he was on it. It was just up and down, up and down.
Jordan was transferred to a trauma center in Baltimore where he received an emergency liver transplant. But the damage to his body was too severe.
We were optimistic all the way up till June 11th.
What changed?
Became brain dead June the 12th. I made the decision, really to say, hey, you know what? I mean, we don't want to compromise the quality of his life anymore. I mean, that's not doing anybody any good at that point.
On June 13th, 2018, Jordan Martin McNair died from complications of heat stroke. He was 19 years old.
I've done hard before in my life. That was the hardest to let my only child go. And Lord knows he was a gift. He was a gift.
How does that impact you as somebody who's so invested in these kids?
It's disappointing. I mean, I felt like I let them down. They trusted me, they trusted our staff, and, we didn't come through.
I think having something like this happen on his watch just devastated him. And I know that there were times where I was worried about him. I remember him being in the fetal position at the end of our bed, and I was afraid I was going to lose him because, in his mind, nothing like this should have ever happened on his watch.
While coping with the loss of Jordan, his parents were confronted with more information about what happened on May 29th.
I remember a good friend of mine pulled me to the side, and I got one of their text messages to the coach at Maryland. It was like, hey, I can't believe they did that to Jordan. This is, this just ain't right.
And that's when I got mad. I was like, what? Why would he do that?
In that text, Marty says he discovered what Jordan's teammates say they heard firsthand that day. The instructions they say Wes shouted to his colleagues who treated Jordan. Drag his ass across the field. 6 words. That changed everything.
I was like, drag his ass across the field? What? I was done with Wes. I never wanted to hear from him again.
We were told, no interviews, don't talk to anybody. But it was frustrating that this narrative was out there that wasn't accurate. Went to the funeral home, and it was hard. I mean, just seeing everybody there, the things really hit home. Went up through the line, and Mr. McNair kind of grabbed me and firmly and concisely told me that I wasn't welcome there.
It was like, hey, wait a minute. If you had something to do with this, don't come in here, don't disrespect my family at that point.
Do you remember what you said to him?
I'm sure it went along the lines, I'm probably the last person in life you want to see. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really when we knew that there was kind of a divide of feelings and what was going on and kind of where things stood.
In that moment, did you hold Wes accountable for Jordan's death?
Yeah, of course. Because that was suspect number one. All I can see is drag his ass across the field. That's all I can see and hear. And you said it. So that alone really, yeah.
In the summer of 2018, an external investigation commissioned by the University of Maryland found the treatment athletic trainers provided Jordan did not appropriately address the escalating symptoms of heat-related illness.
Some of the actions of our athletic training staff, not the coaching staff, the athletic training staff, basically misdiagnosed the situation.
No apparatus was used for prompt cooling of the patient. Inadequate cooling devices were used, such as cold towels, ice packs, etc.
You mean to tell me heat stroke is preventable if dealt with in a timely manner?
Why did you not put him in the cold tub?
I felt like if we put him in the pool that we would have to use was 8 by 8 by 4 feet deep, and I felt like the risk at that time was too great that he would drown. Because of the seizure, we would lose control of him and he would go under the water.
They didn't take his temperature nor apply cold water treatment. What the heck were you doing? You have to fire the head athletic trainer.
A kid died on his watch.
More shakeups at the University of Maryland. The head football trainer, Wes Robinson, who had been involved in the treatment of Jordan McNair, was fired.
Keep in perspective, because what we went through was nothing. But it wasn't easy, right? That was my identity. But yeah, there were some real bad days where I thought about some things that
What kind of things?
I had some suicidal thoughts at one point in time. There was a real bad day. But fortunately, I knew I had, I had a family that I wanted to be around for. I didn't have a plan, I didn't have anything, but I had the thought. I think at some point and somewhere deep, whether I wanted to hear it or not, I always had Katie's voice in the back of my head that, ultimately we need to get to a situation where something good comes out of this.
In the years that followed, Wes considered reaching out to Jordan's parents, who by then were running a foundation in Jordan's name.
To protect student athletes from heat illnesses, parents and coaches need to act as a team. Let's play safe.
But something kept stopping him.
I think that the thought was always there, but there was also, hell no, I'm scared to death and I can't do it. And quite frankly, it was years, right? It was a lot of time that you lay awake at night thinking about it, thinking about him, thinking about how can I be part of, they've started this foundation. I want to be part of that.
In July 2021, more than 3 years after Jordan's death, Wes traveled here to Angel's Landing in Utah's Mount Zion National Park.
I was out on this hike by myself. Yeah, for whatever reason that morning, my thoughts kept coming back to Jordan. And so I got up to the top and I said, well, if there's ever a time, right, I'm thinking about him, I'm gonna send this text. And if it goes through, then it's meant to be.
What was the text?
The text was to Jordan's mom, and it just said, it's Wes. I'm sorry to reach out like this. He's been thinking about you guys a lot lately, thinking about Jordan. I would love to be a part of keeping Jordan's legacy moving forward. So I sent that.
After the whole situation, I never even thought anymore about Wes, and I was really, really surprised that text that I received. He mentioned that he wanted to meet with us and this, and I was good with that because I'm a true believer in forgiveness. Because forgiveness frees my heart. If you hold resentment, or it kills you. It really does.
Tanya sent me the text message.
What'd you think?
At the end of the day, me being angry or me blaming anybody or me operating on a low vibration is not going to change what's done. That prevents us from moving forward in the work that we do. So I can't say that I was relieved, but again, I was willing to listen to him, hear him out.
Finished out that part of the hike, and I looked at my phone, and she had texted me back. And she said, yeah, I'm talking to Jordan's dad, and we'd like to meet you and see where this leads.
How did that impact you?
I sat down on the curb and cried for about 10 minutes.
A month after that text message exchange, Jordan's parents, Wes, and his wife Katie met for lunch. Their first face-to-face encounter in more than 3 years.
Katie and I sat down up front. We got there before they did. I sat there with my head down, shaking. Honest, I didn't know what was going to happen.
Him and Katie were upstairs, and I walked up on him and hugged him, and he just wouldn't stop crying. I'm like, bro, stop crying. It's okay. We forgive you.
I said, Wes, free your heart. Free your heart. It's nothing we can do to bring Jordan back, but we can move forward and being forgiving and just take it from there.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And just from there, we had difficult conversation.
I was glad, he went into, his side and what have you, and the phrase drag his ass across the field wasn't exactly in the context that we received it.
Well, that isn't exactly what I said. What I said was keep him up and moving, drag his ass if you need to. And the intent was more to get across to my staff, hey, this is important. Make sure that we keep him moving so that he doesn't cramp up, so that he continues to recover. And it was a very poor choice of words. But the intention was not negatively directed at Jordan. I think that they saw that I wanted to contribute, and we had the same goals. And that's athlete safety and trying to move forward. How are you?
What's up, bro? I'm good, man.
Yeah? Good night.
Yeah, I'm good.
I think what we're doing now is incredible, and we've been able to come together and do this.
Let me introduce Wes to everybody. Wes is going to talk to you about what you should be looking at on the field of play.
Thank you. My job was to take care of Jordan. Okay, and that's why I'm here today.
Did you ever think you'd be working with Wes through the foundation?
Not initially. However, I knew Wes would be an asset to what we were doing.
If you would have asked me 3 years ago would I be standing here with the McNair family, I'd tell you, no way, you're crazy. That's never going to happen.
So that's why Wes said...
Wes now works with Tanya and Marty through the Jordan McNair Foundation, sharing Jordan's story with students and coaches as they advocate for safer practices in the heat.
It's hard to wrap my head around sometimes, but it falls back on Tanya and Marty's open heart and their faith and their willingness to see down the line to the future of what we can continue to build.
Wes and Jordan's parents have successfully lobbied state and local governments, helping to get new laws on the books.
We'll hear from Jordan McNair of the McNair Foundation. Then we'll hear from Wes Robinson.
Athletic trainers are experts in the field of sports safety, and we are happy to lend our support to this bill as it hits upon a key component of our advocacy, athlete safety with a focus on prevention.
These laws require coaches in Maryland to have emergency action plans in place, as well as the equipment on hand to treat heat-related illness.
Marty, it would have been really easy to continue to harbor ill will against Wes, to continue to blame him. You chose a different path in the end.
Right.
Why?
The freedom. The freedom that he gave us, the forgiveness, the freedom that he gave me.
Freedom that he gave you.
I think forgiveness gives freedom to the person harboring the resentment. Some people hold on to resentment, or hold on to those ill feelings, but we couldn't do the work that we do if we had ill feelings along the way with that.
No good comes out of that. No good. No good to hold on to bitterness. No good not forgiving people. Nothing good comes out of that.
I still have days that I don't sleep well. I know they still have days that they struggle, and I'm sure they have days that they're not very fond of me. But they have the heart to see the big picture that we can do something incredible together and trying to make sure that this doesn't happen again.